Stomach. The stomach is a sac-like, that is, J-shaped organ which expands when food enters into it. It has 3 important jobs. To store the food you have eaten. To break down the food into a liquid mixture. To slowly empty that partial digested food in the stomach of a consistency of liquid or paste called chyme into the small intestine. The stomach is like a mixer, churning and mashing together all the same balls of food, that is bolus, that came down the oesophagus into smaller and smaller pieces. It does this with help from the strong muscles in the walls of the stomach and gastric juices containing hydrochloric acid, pepsin, and mucus that also come from the stomach's wall. In addition to breaking down food, gastric juices also help kill bacteria that might be in the eaten food. From there, food moves to the duodenum, the first part of the small intestine. Small intestine. The small intestine, say intestine, is a long tube that's about 1.5 inches to 2 inches, that is about 3.5 to 5 centimeters, and it's packed inside you beneath your stomach. The small intestine breaks down the food mixture even more so your body can absorb all the vitamins, minerals, proteins, carbohydrates, and fats with a little help from the pancreas, liver, and gallbladder. These organs send different juices to the first part of the small intestine. These juices help to digest food and allow the body to absorb nutrients. In the small intestine, the intestinal enzymes such as invertase, maltase, and lipase act upon partially digested proteins, carbohydrates, and fats respectively. They are simplified into amino acids, glucose, fatty acids, and glycerol in a liquid medium known as chyle. Made up of 3 segments, the duodenum, jejunum, and ileum, the small intestine also breaks down food using enzymes released by the pancreas and bile from the liver. Food from stomach is acidic and has to be made alkaline for these enzymes to act effectively, which is done by bile salts. The small intestine is the workhorse of digestion, as this is where most nutrients are absorbed. Peristalsis is also at work in this organ, moving food through and mixing it up with the digestive secretions from the pancreas and liver, including bile. The duodenum is largely responsible for the continuing breakdown process, which the jejunum and ileum being mainly responsible for absorption of nutrients into the bloodstream. The villi in the small intestine increase its surface area to ensure efficient and rapid absorption of nutrients. The food may spend as long as 4 hours in the small intestine and will become very thin, watery mixture called chyle. It's time well spent because at the end of the journey, the nutrients from the food can pass from the intestine into the blood. Blood capillaries in the villi absorb nutrients and transport the food to all the cells in the body. While food is in the small intestine, nutrients are absorbed through the walls and into the bloodstream. What's left over, that is the waste, moves into the large intestine, that is large bowel or colon. Everything above the large intestine is called the upper GI tract. Everything below is the lower GI tract. The large intestine is fatter than the small intestine, and it's almost the last stop on the digestive tract. The large intestine has a tiny tube with a closed end coming off it called the appendix. It does not have any function in the digestive system of humans. However, it is functional in herbivores such as cows. After most of the nutrients are removed from the food mixture, there is waste left over, stuff your body can't use. This stuff needs to be passed out of the body. Before it goes, it passes through the part of the large intestine called the colon, which is where the body gets its last chance to absorb the water and some minerals into the blood. As the water leaves the waste product, what's left gets harder and harder as it keeps moving along until it becomes a solid. It is poop, also called as stool or a bowel's movement. The large intestine pushes the poop into the rectum, the very last stop on the digestive tract. The rectum is an 8-inch chamber that connects the colon to the anus. The rectum receives stool from the colon, lets the person know there is stool to be evacuated, holds the stool until evacuation happens. When anything, gas or stool, comes into the rectum, sensor sends a message to the brain. The brain then decides if the rectal content can be released or not. If they can, the sphincter relaxes and the rectum contracts, expelling its contents. If the contents cannot be expelled, the sphincter contracts and the rectum accommodates so that the sensation temporarily goes away. The anus is the last part of the digestive tract. It consists of the muscle that line the pelvis or pelvic floor muscles and two other muscles called anal sphincter, internal and external.